Hello everybody and welcome to the Midnight McBride Show, show number 57. And this show is called Mental Elf, not Health, Elf. And there's a reason for that. And I have a young lady with me in the studio who is a mental health and well-being advocate and also a transformational analyst. And I've got to be honest, I don't even know what that is properly, so we're going to find out. Welcome onto the show, Roxanne McCarthy.
Hi.
And you said I can call you Roxy.
Yes.
Yeah, awesome. You brought your rainbow.
I have indeed.
Yes.
I love rainbows.
Yeah. And you've got one of your social media accounts has rainbow in the name, doesn't it?
Yep. Roaming Rainbow Roxy.
Which one's that? Is that
Instagram.
Yeah. And why is the rainbow relevant?
Good question. I think I like to bring colour into people's lives, and I think I'm quite a colourful person. Colour brings me joy as well, so I think that's where the rainbow comes from.
Brilliant. For a long period in my life, I used to wear dark colours. I wore black for years. Now I wear bright coloured socks, bright coloured underpants, bright coloured T-shirts, bright blue trainers. Colour, I think, is quite often an expression of your internal world. And when you wear bright colours, it's because you're happy.
Yeah.
And I was quite morose and a bit subdued. I always wore black and I was serious. And now I colour everywhere I can. Sandy Holt, who's been on, he has 3 Mohicans, different colours, flags, green, blues, turquoise, everything.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Roxy, the reason you're on this show, over Christmas, so quite recently, at the start of Christmas, I became aware of a campaign you were doing. And once I started to see some of these posts straight away, I wanted to get you on the show. So I'm really glad you came on. You did a series of posts and videos over 31 days. It was LinkedIn where I first saw you. And it was called Mental Elf. I thought this was brilliant, a great message, very funny, intelligent, and I just absolutely loved it. And you dressed up as an elf and went around doing all sorts of crazy capers. And while you were doing it as well, I love the fact that you're the play on words. It's so simple, but what a great message at Christmas, So that was the point. I thought, yeah, this lady's pretty special. We'll get her on. Yeah. Well, briefly, we're going to get into it later in the show, but give us an idea. Mental health, where did it come from? What is it?
So mental health, it was around, essentially look after your mental health. It originally came from Lancashire Mind, so they were doing a campaign about get active, get fit, in the run up to Christmas.
That's a charity, is it? Lancashire Mind?
Lancashire Mind, yeah, charity. We've done a lot of things in the past with them. So through my work, I work on the charity committee at Studio Retail. We bring a lot of initiatives in to try and generate some money. And I just saw this as a great opportunity. We've been through 2020, like one of the most difficult years, and looking after your mental health was really important at this point. Yeah. So I really wanted to drive it forward. So off the back of the Lancashire Mind initiative, took it into studio, and then I just in a conversation with one of my colleagues, and I said, I'm going to dress up like an elf and raise some money. And they said, so you're going to dress like an elf every day? And I said, well, not every day. And then he said, if you do every day, I will sponsor you. And at that point, I thought, actually, I really could make a difference. And then the content started flowing and the messages and sharing my own experiences. And it was originally meant to be for 12 days. And then I did. So I did 12 days, and then I thought, I'll do till Christmas, and I'll do a big finale at Christmas. And then I got a message on Christmas Day off somebody who I hadn't spoke to for years, just saying the impact that it had had on her and that she was going to miss me. And I thought, you know what, if it's an extra 6-7 days, an extra week, and I was quite enjoying it myself as well, going about my
It looked
day,
like a lot of fun, and you're in fancy dress as an elf, and you look like a mental elf, I know. You did,
I know.
Out there, you did a rap.
Yeah, a rap.
Which we're going to feature at the end of the show in the extras, so get ready, folks. For the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but done by Roxanne, a different rap, but to that music, So how old are you, Roxanne?
28.
28. Now, what's quite funny for me is I've never up until recently had an elf on this show, and then I've had 2 because I've had a friend of mine, Annie O'Grady, on the show, And she also worked as an elf in Lapland for Santa, obviously. And she's 5'11". How tall are you, Roxanne?
5'10".
So you also are Santa's assistant to reach the presents on the top shelf to help Santa.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
Or the elf that gets noticed because I'm the tallest.
Yeah. Kids are always amazed when they see a tall person as an elf, aren't they?
And actually, I got quite a lot of that. I'd be walking just down the street because obviously I went to the supermarket and to the fuel station, or even just on my daily walks. And you would often have children, saying like, "Oh, mummy, look, there's an elf." So I felt obliged to, play the, "Oh, hi, how was you? And have you wrote your letters to Santa?"
So you went about your day doing normal stuff in your elf outfit.
Yeah, I was dressed as an elf all day, every day, riding my horse, working from home, or when I was in the office, I would be an elf. And then obviously I wasn't really doing much activities, but, just the simple things like walking, exercising, going to the supermarket.
So you must have had several elf outfits.
Yes, I did.
So you can have a clean one.
I've been asked this more times than you would expect. How many outfits have you got? So I did order one because when I decided in November I was going to do this, I ordered one, and obviously with the delays around the postage of COVID, it didn't come until I think a few days before Christmas. So I had like a fresh new outfit for Christmas, which was amazing. But I think it was 3 because I had a horse one because obviously that would get the most smelly, and then 2 like day dresses essentially that I would wear.
Yeah.
But yeah, just regularly wash them, wore my thermals. It was funny, I spoke to somebody recently and I said as I came into the new year I felt really cold. And I didn't understand why. I thought the weather, had drastically gone cold. But under my elf outfit, I always wore thermals. And when I put my normal clothes on in the new year, I didn't put the thermals back on. So that was, need to keep the thermals on. It's a bit chilly.
Maybe tell us as well, what is, because I don't know, a transformational analyst? It sounds very fancy.
Yeah, so going back to, obviously I mentioned I'm in the charity committee at Studio Retail.
Yeah.
That's not my full-time job, it's kind of like a side thing that, because I'm passionate about charity and helping others, I've kind of been doing that. So my day job at Studio Retail is transformation analyst, and I've been in the role now for about 8 months. It is just to oversee business improvements, drive the business forward. We're going through a big digital transformation, so just heading up that, looking at the systems, the processes, the change in the business, and just working as almost like a coordinator of that to push the business forward.
I didn't know whether it was helping people transform, but it's to do with a company that's evolving, the transformation of the company.
Yeah, business transformation.
So, Roxanne, we'll start at the beginning. I think this is a beautiful story, your journey, because it makes a lot of sense to me. And like with other guests I've had, when they're doing what they're doing, once we find out about their life journey, it all sort of makes sense, and you see what motivates them, drives them and inspires them, So you are a Bolton girl, born and bred. But you've moved around a lot. I know you currently reside in, I can't even say it, I still can't say it, I've practised. Oswald-Twistle. I can't say it. Oswald-Twistle.
This is what they used to always get this when I was away. People would always, they say, "Oh, where are you from?" And I'd say, Oswald-Twistle. And they say, "Is that from Willy Wonka or something?"
Yeah.
It sounds quite interesting.
I've been many times, I just can't say it. Oswald-Twistle. Yeah, we'll leave it there.
Yeah, we'll leave it.
Yeah. And you're with your long-term boyfriend Marcus as well. He's your partner. But you ended up in Oswald-Twistle, started off in Bolton, and your mum travels around a lot because she works with horses too.
Yeah.
Yeah. And horses are a big part of your journey, which we're going to get to as well.
Yeah.
So your childhood, you're moving around a lot. So give us a bit of an idea where you went, what you did.
Born and bred in Bolton. My grandparents, grandma still lives here. They've always lived here. So kind of this has always been my roots. Always coming back to.
Which bit of Bolton?
For the Hoff.
Yes,
the Hoff,
yes.
Yeah, she's there. So that's always been my roots, because they've been in that house since I was little.
Yeah.
And then we've moved around lived in Ramsbottom for a short spell.
Which is nice.
Yeah, it's nice. Oldham, like over towards Skelmersdale. Then we've gone to Blackburn. We did go for a short spell over to Ireland.
Right.
I think we maybe a year or so there. But obviously that's come with, I've had different primary school. I've been moved through primary schools to high schools.
Same.
Yeah.
I've been to lots of different schools. We moved around a lot as a kid, and so I went to 5 or 6 primary schools, a couple of secondary schools. I lived in Africa when I was, very early on. I started school late, so I can relate to that. Your mum made saddles, is that right?
She's a saddle fitter.
Saddle fitter, sorry.
Yeah.
So
that's her business, is the saddle fitter. Yeah, and she just goes out to people's yards, checks the saddles, makes sure they fit properly. She's really keen to make sure that the saddle fits the horse, fits the rider, so they can get the best out of the performance.
I suppose it's quite important as well, because you want the horse to be comfortable, but you want it to be safe as well, because if the saddle's not fit right, somebody's going to get thrown off the horse. And so it's important, very important.
Yeah, massively.
When we went through your notes, what I found surprising is you didn't go abroad until you were 20.
No.
That's incredible. You've travelled around a lot, but not abroad.
No, yeah, it was all in the UK. So my grandparents would often go on holiday to Wales and York. But I think because I've had horses all my life, our money's always gone into our horses. We never really my mum didn't ever trust anybody else to look after them, so we always stayed, local. It was when I was 20 and I was living with my uni friends, and they all said, "Oh, let's go on a holiday to Turkey," and it was like, I've never been I've never been away anywhere before. So yeah, it was quite an experience.
You mentioned when we talked in the pre-show chat that you were actually bullied at school as well, and that's a common theme with a lot of people that do amazing things now that are inspirational, are driven by some of the events that happened in the childhood. And my partner Willow was bullied badly at school. Sandy Holt was bullied badly at school. Colin Unsworth, aka Mr. Mushroom, who's a mushroom expert, been on Gardener's World, and he was bullied at school. And these people are all amazing people doing amazing things now, like yourself. And so I think when you experience that as a child, it can drive you on to make sure that it's sort of flipping the coin. I think the greatest thing a human being can do, the reason we're here, is to take a bad experience, learn from it, survive, and get through it, and then help others who are going through the same thing, which is what you're doing, so it's wonderful. Which university did you go to?
Lancaster University.
And what did you study?
Law.
Wow.
Yeah, wow.
No, that's a big wow. A girl, one of my first long-term girlfriends, she's a barrister, and she studied at Oxford, and I used to go down there quite a lot to Oxford, and I was in awe of people that studied law, whether it's, not necessarily to be a barrister, but studying law, because you had to be dedicated. I got a degree, but I took the piss, I partied, and I didn't study much.
Well, I'm surprised that I came out with such a good result, I guess.
What did you get?
A 2-1.
Ooh.
Oh, no. So I did well, but I equally had as much fun as I did commit to my work.
I think you can do if you're semi-sensible about it. I wasn't, but my hat's off to you there. That's a great achievement. I think there's a couple of parts of your journey, Roxanne, which are very relevant, and we won't go into detail. We've discussed it. You said it's okay to mention it, but your actual father, you took his own life when you were younger, I think when you experience something like that as a child, irrelevant of how close you are to the person, I've had a lot of friends take their life over the last few years, that then when you see somebody suffering, it makes you want to try and make sure that if there is anybody suffering, that doesn't happen again, and I think that may be a big part of your journey and why you're doing what you're doing too. After Turkey, you head off to Malaysia.
Yes.
And you said this was a big turning point for you. How long were you there for?
So I went to Malaysia. I'd been to Turkey, which when I was 20, and then the following year there was a cultural exchange programme which was part of the university, and they were advertising it everywhere, and I thought, wouldn't it be great to get an opportunity to go back, do another bit of travel. They offered grants if you had different ideas that you could benefit the trip or something in Malaysia. So I thought, actually this would be really great. But I think they gave options of there was China, India, Malaysia, Pakistan or Ghana, they were the options.
All good options.
Yeah, they were really good options. But I always wanted to go to China. I was fascinated by it, but I'd never thought of, like, India and China. I was like, I've always thought about going there. But Malaysia, I'm not going to lie, when I read it, I'd never heard of Malaysia ever. And then I researched a little bit. I thought, actually, do you know what? I'm just going to go somewhere totally random. I'm going to go to this place and I don't know anything about it, so it'll be totally new. So got there. It was a 3-week cultural exchange program. So you went over and you almost got paired up with somebody at the university over there. You experienced a little bit of their life at the university, but they also took you on trips out and about in the community.
I'd encourage anybody at a younger age, because as you get older, life gets more complicated. You have children's partners, mortgages, bills, and if you get a window in your life, especially if you're in your teens, early 20s, to travel, as human beings, we were meant to roam.
Yeah.
We were meant to experience new cultures, new places, travel the world, meet new people, have great experiences, see the world. I mean, it's just all the best experiences I've had in my life are when I'm travelling.
Yeah,
and I think everybody should do it. And then you got a bit of a bug for it, didn't you? And you've done a lot of it.
Yeah, so Malaysia now is my favourite place just because of the culture absolutely fascinated me. The people in Malaysia are probably the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I've got long life friends that I was in Malaysia, they've been to England.
And you're still in touch with them then?
Yeah, still in touch
Beautiful.
with them. I did go over there. I think I've been back twice since, and I've stayed with friends when I was there, and they just took me into the homes, welcomed me like I was, one of the family, and just amazing place. And I think it just fascinated me that I went there with just absolutely no expectation, and was totally mesmerised by what it had to offer. And also I met, when I went over there, there was a group of students from Lancaster. I didn't know anybody. I think there's about 30 of us, and I sat next to a girl on the plane, because they sat us in alphabetical order, and I sat next to this girl on the plane, Lauren Sutton. We had the 8-hour journey, and she is now one of my best friends, and we just bonded over that on that plane, and we never left each other's side for the 3 weeks that we were in Malaysia. We were equally fascinated, and that was the girl that I then went travelling with after.
Right. See, that's living. It's exciting. It's new. If you ask anybody and say, I'd say this a lot, but what did you get for your birthday 7 years ago? No idea. What did you get for Christmas 3 years ago? No idea. Do you remember the time we went to India? Yes. Yeah. Life is experiential. It's about the experiences in life. And I said on the last show, anything that's truly valuable can't be bought with money. Anything that's worth a lot of money but can replace, you can have a 10 grand watch and you lose it. But if it can be replaced, you just can buy another one, assuming you have the money. If something can be replaced by money, it's not truly valuable. Life experiences that can't be bought, that's what's really valuable. So Roxanne, you've been to lots of places doing lots of varied jobs, which include a cowgirl. And I was staggered. So roll with it. Tell us about it. Where have you been and what have you done?
Yeah, so I graduated university with my law degree and didn't really know what I wanted to do, didn't really know what I wanted to be. And I just thought, I think when I was trying to decide, should I go into the big law firm, should I not, I actually realised I want to do a lot of travelling, inspired from when I was in Malaysia, and my best friend that I'd met, she wanted to go to Asia and do a little bit of travel.
You said in your notes that you actually, to save up to go travelling, you had a job in a door factory, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
And you met your surrogate dad.
Yeah, so...
Explain that. Who's your surrogate dad?
Yeah, so... the decision. I was at university. I knew that I wanted to travel. We'd made that decision, and obviously I needed money to get there because I was a student. I'd just come out of university. I didn't have any money to my name. I needed to save up some money, and I've worked since probably the age of 14, just in bars, in shops, and I was actually working. I had like a summer job that I used to come back to in Oswestwhistle, and I used to work at the Plough, and I was just in there working away and discussing my my plans with people that come in. And I met Chris, and Chris said, "Oh, I've got a job, a temporary job for you to do, just to save up a bit of money." And I just thought, "Oh, right, great, it's only round the corner, saving money on travel, getting to and from work." And I thought, you know what, I'll just go there, I'll save up to go away. And then we just formed this relationship, which...
So is this older guy, a male friend you've met, that's been like a sort of a fatherly figure to you and just looked after you?
Yeah,
been nice
essentially,
to you?
yeah. And it's nice to have that, obviously, with the absence of knowing my real dad, or he's not really had any active part in my life. So
did your mum ever remarry or not?
No, she's had different relationships.
Yeah.
And there was a long term, when I was at high school, she was with someone called Justin, he was like a father figure to me at the time, but then we moved on, and we kind of put this distance between us. And
have you seen a movie called Chocolate?
No.
You've not seen it?
No.
Johnny Depp's in it.
No, I don't think
All
so.
right. It's Juliette Binoche is the lady in it. And there's this woman, and she makes chocolate, and she travels from town to town, and she makes all these chocolate treats.
That sounds exciting.
And it's a great film, a very famous film. And she always says that, "I feel the north wind blowing." And when she did, her daughter went, "Oh no." And they packed the stuff and off they went again. And they just moved around like this. And that sort of reminds me of you and your mum travelling around.
I'll have to get... She might know that film.
Yeah. Well, it's a fantastic film. Your travels, Roxanne, maybe we'll start and go through some of those. And I think you started off with Australia, is that right?
Our destination was Australia, but we went via
Ibiza.
Well, no, I wish. I've been to Ibiza since. Via Thailand.
Right.
Yes,
Beautiful
we
place,
went to Thailand, and then because I've always had a bit of an interest in Muay Thai, because my mum has had an interest in Muay Thai, so Thailand was quite a good place to go.
Your mum trained with Sandy, didn't she?
Yes, she
And
did.
you've trained a bit with Sandy as well.
Yes,
Because
yeah.
Sandy's done, I think, 3 shows with me now. And coincidentally, we're just about, I think, in a week's time, I'm about to launch a video that I did with Sandy all about mind health, which is mental health, but he prefers the term mind health. And he talks in depth about his opinions on that. It's a really nice video we shot. Just Sandy, so I'm not in it, just Sandy. And it's called, it's the first one we've done. I'm doing a series of videos called Midnight Monologues. And it's Sandy talking. And yeah, I didn't really get to know Sandy until we done a few shows with him. And I think he's a beautiful man. I really do. He helps a lot of people.
He's very passionate.
Yeah, it's very positive. There's lots of colour in his life. And it's not just, he's done remarkable things in his life, but he helps a lot of kids, and he's not just about the Thai boxing. The Thai boxing's a vehicle to grow your confidence, to make you feel strong, to give you interpersonal skills. There's so much more to it, But yeah, so your mum did Thai boxing and yourself.
Yeah, she did Thai boxing. I think from previous relationships, she got the passion for wanting to, be able to protect herself and defend herself and keep that confidence up. And that's why she encouraged me to do it. And it was quite a good way of exercising and getting your mind into a better place.
When I do endurance sport, if I'm going running for, 4 or 5 hours up in the hills, I quite often do that when I'm training for my ultra events. Once I'm about an hour into any endurance sport training, my mind becomes quiet. I focus on my breath. I'm surrounded by nature and I'm in bliss. You might think, aren't you experiencing pain? But I'm actually in bliss when I'm running. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So Thailand and then Australia. Tell us maybe how long you stayed in Thailand for.
So I think we weren't in Thailand long. I think it was just more of like somewhere to stay before, because we had plans to get to Australia and work for a short period.
Yeah.
And actually, so I went with my best friend, left my long-term boyfriend at home, because I actually said, I'm only going to go for 3 months and then I'll be back. So that was the plan. We thought we could travel the whole of Australia in 3 months and maybe work a bit on the way. And as soon as we arrived in Perth, we were there for, I think, about 2 weeks. We both got jobs. We realised that in hospitality in Australia, you could earn quite a lot of money.
Yeah.
And then we loved it. And to the point where I met my boyfriend. I think I was in Perth for about 3 months, and then I met my boyfriend. He flew out to meet me in Bali.
This is Marcus?
Marcus,
yes.
Yeah. He flew out to meet me in Bali, and I just said, I'm not coming home. Like, I love it out here. You need to be out here. Like, you know, at home in England, like, it's just a different life, different experience. And then we travelled up the west coast. We left Perth. We saved up a bit of money. We travelled up the west coast of Australia, which is absolutely beautiful. And not many backpackers do the west coast. It's all about the east coast and the party. But we actually got on a bus in Perth and we did a 3-week trip. There was 21 backpackers on this bus. It was called the Magic Bus.
Yeah.
It's where the magic happened. Honestly, it was just the best experience with these 21 people. We were camping, we were experiencing national parks. There was dolphins coming right up to the beaches, and it was just beautiful. And so we did that, and we got up to Broome, and we both worked. Me and Lauren both worked there for a while. And me having my horsey background, I'd always seen these, you know, you see on the TV of the cowboys and you think, wow, like, what about that? Looks amazing. And I just was sat in my hostel in Broome and I thought, do you know what? If I want to do anything, I want to go and live and work on a ranch just for a short period, because you have to do farm work if you're in. So by this point, I was staying in Australia for the full year. I wanted to do 2 years. Marcus was making plans to come out, which was brilliant and exciting.
Am I right in saying if you work for a certain period, they'll give you your second year? Is that correct?
So I think it's 80 days that you have to do. So I thought, actually, if I want to go and work on a ranch, and if it gets my farm days, it's kind of killing two birds with one stone. And I remember getting a job. I spoke to the girl on the phone. She said, yeah, like, what you could do. And it actually followed a natural course of, you know, go, because I was wanting to go up, and that's where the cattle station was.
So were you a camel handler before this?
Yes, I was a camel handler when I was in Broome, looking for the cowgirl dream job. And then so I spoke to this girl on the phone, and it was actually a cook position, which is absolutely hilarious, because she got me the job, and I rang home and I said, Mum, I've got a job on a cattle station as a cook. And she went, you're joking me. Yeah. At uni, I never used to cook my own. Well, I used to cook my own food, but all my housemates and friends will say, some of your food was...
it's dangerous, don't eat it.
And I'd get the chicken, and they'd cut the chicken because I didn't like the texture of it. So I'm there going into the middle of nowhere to be a cook on a cattle station. So anyway, I set off on my adventures. Didn't realise this cattle station was 3 hours away from the nearest shop. It was in the middle of nowhere. But honestly, I got there. I was the cook. I can't remember the timescales, but I was a cook for the first good few weeks, and then I started going out onto the station and riding the horses.
Did you have a hat?
Oh yeah, I had a hat. Yeah.
Chaps?
No chaps. Just the jeans and the checked shirt and the hat, and it was just amazing. And then I was the cook, and then I started doing a little bit more and going out onto the station. But it was just a nice, I don't know, I always remember going out at nights, and you would look up at the stars and you could see you could see everything. It was just amazing.
I've been in the desert in Egypt. I've also been on a cruise ship where you're in the middle of the sea in the Caribbean, where there is no artificial light, and you look up and it is breathtaking. Yeah. You can see, we're lucky, you look up at night, like in Bolton, where I am, I look up and, you might be able to see 20 stars, 30 stars. You can see 10,000 stars. The sky's full of them. And, yeah, it takes my breath away. It's beautiful, isn't it?
Would you like that being midnight McBride?
Oh, yes. Oh, yes. When you were doing this, I'm assuming like your mobile phone's not working.
We had very limited access to Wi-Fi.
See, that's a good thing.
Yeah, it was good.
You're not being interrupted by technology all the time and beeps and buzzes.
I had enough Wi-Fi to contact my mum, let her know that I was okay. But beyond that, you just lost all patience. For social media, that wasn't even an option. So you were out there. We would get up at 4:30 in the morning, and we'd be on horseback before the sun even came up, because that was the coolest part of the day. And then we would get a lot of the jobs done, and then we'd do things in the afternoon. We'd be covered in dirt head to toe, and it's just I think I appreciated the little things, because you would work so hard all day, and coming back to that ice cold beer, and you just sit there and drink that, and I don't know, there was just it was life changing. I wrote a blog because it was called Spring Creek at the station, and I wrote a blog and it was called Spring in My Step, because it was just, I don't know, it was just a life that I'd always thought I'd love to do that, and I went there and it was more than I could imagine. And
exceeded your expectations.
Yeah, it really did. And it became like a family. There was I think there was about 15 of us there, cowgirls. I think at one point I was the only girl with all these cowboys. And then essentially I'd say it's like my second home. And
that's a fantasy for a lot of girls, that, working with a load of cowboys, I think, isn't it?
I know, but the Australian born and bred, they're definitely an interesting characters, to say the least.
I lived in Sydney for a while, so...
Oh, yeah, well, we'll get to Sydney, because that's, I'd ended up there at one point.
As a tour guide?
Yes.
You also travelled Asia and lived in New Zealand for a little while as well, didn't you?
Yeah.
I didn't go to New Zealand. When I was in Australia, I stopped there briefly, but it was for a day. And then I went to the Cook Islands in the Pacific, and I've been to some beautiful places, but I didn't get to explore New Zealand. It's supposed to be spectacular.
Oh, yeah, it's amazing. After my cowgirl adventures, Marcus then joined me in Australia, and we drove up to Darwin, down through the middle of Australia on a road trip, arrived in Sydney I think it was just before Christmas, managed to find jobs, spent New Year on a boat through my tour guiding job, and me and Marcus lived in Sydney for a good few months. I think it was nearly 6 months. Then I took Marcus back to the cattle station with me, which was an amazing experience for Marcus to experience that life, because in England he'd come and fill my horse's hay nets, but he would refuse to get on the horse. And we took him back to the station. I said, you do know you're gonna have to ride these horses? No, I'll just do the maintenance, I'll just do the hard labour. I said, trust me, Mike, who's the station owner, he will definitely get you on a horse anyway. I'll never forget that day where Mike said, that's your horse over there, Marcus. And I said, all right, don't worry, I'll help you. And he said, no. And then so Marcus gets on this horse and I get on my horse, and Mike says, no, couples don't ride together. Marcus that way, you that way. And I just remember seeing Marcus ride off into the distance with these 5 cowboys who thought it was absolutely hilarious
terror in his eyes,
to not tell him what to do. And he came back a few hours later and he said, I've never been so sore in my life. So then that's what leads me on to then my visa was coming to an end in Australia. Marcus was there, so he did end up staying in Australia on the cattle station. We had a little bit of a break in our relationship at this point. I flew to New Zealand, where my best friend, who I originally went travelling with, she was in New Zealand at this point, so went to meet up with her, just with the intention of, working, experiencing, wanted a bit of snow. She kept saying, it's beautiful, you need to come. So I went out there, worked a few jobs, worked in a bar, worked in a hostel. And that was probably the point where I arrived peak winter season, and I really struggled to find a job, to the point where I didn't have any money and I was really struggling. But it was a point where there was so many people around me who were just kind of embracing everything, and they would help me out. I would often stay at people's houses, they would feed me, and they would offer, we're going up the slopes today. I'm like, I can't afford to. Oh, it's fine, just come with us, we'll sort you out. And it was just a point in my life where I probably didn't have that much, but it was a good experience.
So Roxy, you then come back to the UK because of your granddad. So we'll touch on this briefly, but tell us what happened there.
So I was in New Zealand, and then got the phone call to say granddad has got cancer. Didn't quite believe it. Obviously came home quite quickly after hearing the news, because I don't know, my mum didn't really give me that much information. It was just you need to come home kind of thing.
So it's serious then, don't you?
Flew home, and it was about probably 6 months. So thankfully I came home and I got that 6 months with him. He went through the radiotherapy. He had lung cancer, but it had gone to bone cancer.
great way of looking at that. Some people say, I was told somebody had a few weeks to live and they're dying. I think, well, a lot of people don't get any warning. You've got 2 weeks, to spend time with somebody that you love before they transition. So, you could see it as a blessing.
Yeah, and we didn't know how long that he had left because he didn't want to know. He didn't want to know. He didn't want us to know, which is probably a good thing because we just kind of lived each day. I saw him a lot. During that pit time, I was working with horses, so it was a bit more flexible. It wasn't like a 9 to 5. It was, do the horses in the morning, see Grandad in the day, and go back at night. And then he died in February. Yeah. 4 years ago now.
Right, and this had an effect on you. Physical and mental health. This is the period where you said, your health suffered. So tell us a bit about that.
I didn't realise it was affecting me at the time. I thought it was fine. I was busy. I was going about my day, just normal, probably very emotionless, very just getting things done, doing this, going here, doing...
Maybe staying busy so that distracting from the fact that you don't have to deal with what's going on.
Yeah, and then a few months down the line, I started getting really, really tired and really drained. And I did go to the doctor because I thought I might be, deficient in iron or deficient in something which is making me feel this tired. And they did blood tests and everything came back clear. And she just said, what do you think it is? I thought I might have a sleeping disorder because I would wake up in the morning, I'd sleep all night. I'd wake up, I'd drive to my horse and have a sleep. I'd ride my horse and then I'd have another sleep. And often I would be driving and I wouldn't be able to drive to my location without pulling over and sleeping.
Well, I've had a nervous breakdown. I've 2 nervous breakdowns and I've been depressed. And when you're depressed, you become very lethargic and it's quite difficult. You've got no energy, no motivation. And even, I remember that you get up in the morning and days where getting dressed was a problem. Basic tasks became a problem because you'd so little life in your libido, this kind of thing. You just nothing left. And so I can imagine that it's your mental health and that you've got what they call low mood or depression, and that's why you've fallen asleep everywhere.
Yeah. And then that's my doctor advised, maybe you need to speak to someone professional, like a counsellor. And I just thought, I'm not speaking to anyone. There's nothing wrong with me. Yeah. I'm fine. Yeah. I will carry on and I'll be absolutely fine. And then she booked me in, and obviously there's the long referrals. And when the time actually came around, I thought, well, do you know what, Roxy? What do you have to lose by going speaking to someone? You have nothing to lose. Yeah. And luckily, I think going to that person and having to process things and, looking back and linking things, it just helped me get my mind in a better place. It's
good to talk. And a very valuable lesson I learned is everybody at some point in their life has mental health issues. It might be, the end of a relationship, breaking up with a partner. It could be a bereavement. It could be depression, it could be any number of things. And at some point in our life, we all need help as well. And I wouldn't ask for help, and I didn't want to talk to anybody. I thought there's nothing wrong with me, all this kind of stuff. And I needed help. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it was a big lesson for me to learn to ask for help.
And I think my struggle to ask for help was because I'm quite vibrant and positive, and I didn't want anybody to see that I had a weakness, because I convinced myself that I was okay, that I don't have mental health problems, and I don't need anyone to help me, like I'm fine.
Quite often the people that have got the big smile on their face, that are centre of the party and lots of fun, on their own, when they're by themselves, are really sad. Quite often when somebody's depressed, nobody knows. Yeah. I was the life and soul of the party, but obviously I had issues and problems, and they hide it quite well. And when I wasn't feeling good, I wouldn't let anybody see me. I just removed myself, you know. I think this is probably another pivotal part of your journey that is maybe one of the reasons you do what you do, because you've experienced it yourself. You know what it feels like not to feel good, to have issues, and helping other people maybe through that process is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Horses have always been a big part of your life, haven't they? Because obviously your mother worked with horses. Yeah. And you said that they'd help you a lot when you were struggling. Yeah. And I've done a show number 7, with Catherine Beaumont and Debbie Henderson, who do meditate with horses that I've been involved with when we did a retreat. I taught meditation at one of the retreats. And I've also experienced the meditation with horses. And Debbie Henderson, who does hands on heavy horses, and they work quite a lot with adults, but also with children, with people that have difficulties and problem. And they spend a day with the horses, meditate. The horses become relaxed. They sort of sync nervous systems. They think that, you know, some kind of energy link, and the horses become relaxed, and then you can go and lie on the horse's belly and all this. It's just fabulous. And they definitely have massive, as do dogs, healing qualities, don't they, you know?
They've been my therapy probably throughout all my life, because I think I always have to show up for my horse, and especially throughout 2020, I've got to get up in the morning, feed my horse, because she's not going to feed herself, and riding, obviously, it's like a release, it's like my happy place. So she has been one of my key motivations, or horses always have. My current horse is called Norma, and I would say she's my main motivation in life. Yeah,
I used to be frightened of horses, and then once I'd been up and done this retreat with Catherine Beaumont, and that went, you know. But I didn't like animals that were bigger than me, because I make no secret of it. I used to be a violent man. I fought. I did MMA. I had several hundred fights here in Bolton on the streets. I was in a lot of trouble, and anything that was bigger than me that I didn't think I could knock out, I didn't like it. And horses are big, aren't they? And so I was frightened of them, I think. And that went when I spent time with them with Catherine. It was lovely, you know. This then leads you on to your current position. So the current company you work for.
Yep.
Yeah. So shortly after this period, you got your new job with, what's the company called?
Studio Retail Limited.
And what do they do?
Online value retailer.
What's a value retailer?
We promote, helping families with discount products, good quality, but a reasonable price.
So I understand it, but it's not any specific, it's not clothing, it's not this, it's everything.
Yeah, it's everything.
Right, yeah. Okay. And when you started with them, what were you doing?
So when I first started, I went in as a HR admin. I think this was just a point in my life. I'd worked with horses, but I needed to get myself back onto essentially a career path, because I didn't want to. Horses are my outlet. I didn't want them to be my hobby and my job. I wanted to keep them separate.
And law was something that you weren't interested in at this point?
No, I think law is... At the time when I graduated, I feel like they wanted my heart and my soul, and I wasn't ready to give them my heart and my soul. And I think now when I reflect and look back, law is quite black and white, That's the law and that's how you apply it. There's a bit of flexibility in it, but as you can see, I'm quite a colourful person. I like to be doing creative things.
And I think your nature is you got good interpersonal skills, you're good with people, you're helping people. I suppose you could say you're doing that in law, but you're not really, are you? You're a people person.
Yeah, there's no sense of creativity in it. I think the transformation role is, I can see, you can see the changes that you're making, and in my transformation analyst role, so I kind of moved through the HR route and moved around HR and did my CIPD, and then this transformation opportunity came up, and I just thought it was a chance for me in the business to make a difference, make positive changes, bring my positive energy to try and move the business forward. And obviously, you're not going to move the business forward unless you bring the people along. So
you're that link.
Yeah.
Do you know the colours in your dress match the colour of the rainbow as well?
Yeah, that's intentional.
All right, okay. I just noticed then. I thought, do you actually realise?
I've always a lot of my clothes are bright, and my mum just bought me some shoes, and they've got rainbows on. But they're amazing.
Wow,
they haven't arrived yet.
Yeah. Maybe you'll become this rainbow warrior, and instead of just dressing up as an elf for 31 days a year, you'll be this rainbow warrior every day of the year.
Right, you've given me an idea now.
Yeah. Rainbow shoes, rainbow hat, rainbow jumper.
Yeah, they'll think I'm some sort of hippie, won't they?
Yeah.
That's fine.
In your notes, Roxy, you say that over the last 3 years you've had a number of pets or animals pass, and people as well. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yes, so we've had quite a lot of loss in our family. We've lost, horses, dogs, people that my mum did a little bit of care work, lost people there. Obviously, my granddad passing away was a big loss. The loss of my real dad. And then in 2020, we've lost our dog Tyson, which it was a difficult loss because we were in the lockdown. You know, we were at home with the dog, spent a lot of time with him. Then we lost him. We were still in the home where he was.
What kind of dog was he, Roxanne? What breed?
He was a Rottweiler cross American Bulldog, we think, but because we rescued him, we don't know his exact breeding.
So I think it's time we talk about mental health. So the motivation behind this, we talked briefly at the beginning of the show about, you know, why you were doing it and what you did. You said that Marcus has been 100% behind you all the way.
Oh yeah, with everything that I do, he's always. I think my mum, my grandma, Marcus, they're always there behind me, and Chris, all behind me, supporting me. Because obviously, it's sometimes they've got to
put up with
walk around. Yeah, they've got to be present with me while I'm as an elf. But you know, my grandma, they all participated. You know, they've had their elf hats on when they're out walking with me. But yeah, massive support. They just give me the freedom and just get behind me and celebrate what I do. Essentially.
Do you think now's a good time to stick your hat on?
People might have missed this throughout January. They either fed up with it or they won't. Does it match my outfit?
It does. Yeah, it's perfect. Yeah. And you'd have your full outfit on, elf shoes, bells on your shoes or anything?
Oh, you know, I didn't go that far because obviously I had to have the practical.
You had to drive.
Going out yeah. So, but no, the full, yeah.
I read an article once about two clowns that crashed into each other, and they both had clown shoes on when they were driving, and they both got, they said it was both their faults, and they both got prosecuted. But they were driving with, you know, the silly clown shoes on.
Right.
Yeah. That's always hilarious.
Oh, right, it's really strange because usually, like girls, when they're driving with the heels, they'll drive in appropriate footwear and then swap.
Yeah.
All right,
I think they were late, so they had the clown shoes on or something. It just made me laugh.
I know. I need to get some elf shoes, I think, for next year, and maybe make them so they fit around my shoes or something.
Yeah. Mental health's coming back, is it?
I know. I just thought that. I was like, oh,
next
no.
year. In about 5 years, I'm thinking that, you know, there'll be several of us. We'll probably have a choir.
Well, you know, I did try. One of my really close friends, she was actually inspired, and she's at university at the moment. She was inspired, Natalia, to do mental health for 12 days. And it's the first ever charity challenge that she'd done. And she talked a little bit about her own mental health. So I think mental health, it helped people out there with me putting the content, but I think it actually helped me because I did a lot of reflecting, you know, back on previous experiences that might have, you know, that have led me to this point. So I think it was exhausting to be an elf all the time because I had to be, you know, on form because people would constantly, if I was out and about, they'd ask me questions, even just out the checkout.
You don't want to be a miserable elf, do you?
No, exactly.
I
know. Hey! And some days I'd wake up, I think,
what have I done?
Yeah.
I've got 8 days left. I'm knackered. I've no elf left in me.
That's a good one. But this, I think, what was always in the back of my mind is that one of my friends this year, Jess, she took her own life.
Yeah.
And I think that was, when I look back, that was the main driver for me. If I ever thought, I don't want to be an elf today, I thought, do you know what? If I can get up and I can change one person's day, then it's made all the difference. And if for me, just wearing an outfit that I've worn for the past, I don't know, however many days, then it's
that you've not washed because your other outfit hasn't arrived yet either. So you might have been a little whiffy elf.
Well, everyone can't come near you because they're supposed to be social distancing. So, you know. Yeah. And you know, I always say if someone can smell you, then they're too close anyway.
Yeah. So we'll talk a little bit about Jess now. I've actually talked about it on the show before because Sandy's been on, and Sandy was good friends with her. He wears a T-shirt with Jess on all the time. He was devastated when that happened. And Jess was a pole dancing champion, or is that the right term? Yeah. And she also did Thai boxing with Sandy as well, didn't she? And she was a good friend of yours?
Yes, so I went to school with Jess and ever since school. I've not seen her, religiously every
Yeah.
month or whatever, but we've stayed in touch. I've followed her journeys. She's reached out to me, and then she was actually living in Clayton Le Moors is where I work. She was living there, and I would often meet her after work for a drink at the pub, and we'd just have a bit of a catch up. And that was quite nice, because we did that more regularly, because we were actually closer. Because obviously I've moved around quite a lot, so a lot of my friends, they don't live immediately close to me, so it was nice to have her close. And then I think when she was in France, I spoke to her quite a bit, to when she was coming home. And the last time I saw her is outside. I met her outside Sandy's gym just before she was due to do a class, and we just had a bit of a catch up in the car.
I didn't know Jess. I think I'd met her once, but I didn't know her. But really sad. She was only young. She's your age, obviously.
Well, if you'd met her, you wouldn't forget her, because she was very bubbly, very in your face, very vibrant, very colourful.
And this is what I'm saying about the fact that obviously inside she was struggling, unhappy and very sad, and outside what she portrayed nobody knew. It's been a strange year, hasn't it?
Strange.
I'm just going to refer to your notes. There's a couple of things in your notes that I'm actually going to read.
All right.
Okay. One is that I liken myself to Mary Poppins.
All right.
Making valuable contributions with a magic touch. Magic, that word's popped up in your notes about 3 times. And I believe, magic is... I think everything in life is energy. We're all interacting with each other. When you break down and they go into subatomic physics and particle physics and you get right down to it, everything, break a particle up, an atom, electron, proton, and they keep going in, you go into quark. Everything's just energy. It's all made up of energy. And if you know about the particle experiment, the slit experiment in quantum physics, everything's pure energy, and only when intention is brought into the room, it affects the results of the experiment, which tells you your thoughts, what you do, changes energy, and at that point, that energy, which is a limited possibility, then becomes form and becomes physical matter, and it turns into actual particles. The waveform changes. My point being, I believe that we manifest and create our own reality, and magic is very real if you believe in it. And it can be whatever you want it to be. For magic is when synchronicity, alignment, when the universe corresponds to the nature of song, when things start to fall into place, when good things happen. You can call it good luck, you can call it coincidence, you can call it whatever you like, but magic's very real. And if you're a positive person experiencing joy and bliss, you will experience magic.
Yeah. And I think when I write magic, I forgot to add in there that I'm like Mary Poppins, but with a rainbow umbrella, because Mary Poppins, she has, I think it's a black or a blue one. But magic is, I think, my positivity and my energy that I can bring to whatever I involve myself in.
Well, you've certainly got that.
I try to bring
Roxy.
it.
You've got a beautiful, warm energy. You exude positive energy. It's, I meet a lot of people doing this, and I'm very aware of other people's energies, and you've got magic. Yes. I'm going to read something else. In fact, I won't read it. I'm just going to tell you why. There's a sentence she wrote here, and I've never seen it before. I think there's 7 loves in one sentence.
Is
I
there?
love this, I love that, I love this, I love that. And, no, but it's
I love
brilliant.
life.
Exactly. Some people, this isn't happening, that's not what I want, and just pause. Whoa. What have you got to be thankful for? Start looking at what you should be grateful for. Actually, I'm very lucky. I've got this. I'm healthy. I know some beautiful people. I'm loved, and start making a list of the things that you should be thankful for. Being an attitude of gratitude and love, and that tells me, when I read somebody's show notes, it tells me about what's going on inside, and clearly, you've got a lot of love, haven't you? And you see love. I think when you're experiencing magic and you're experiencing bliss and you feel good, your true nature inside, and you experience what I'd call inner peace and bliss, then you start to see beauty in all things, and you obviously love a lot of things, so you're in an attitude of gratitude. Yeah. It's a great way to look at life.
Yeah, and I think that especially in 2020, that's been, I think my grounding is being, what can I be grateful for in this situation? I think it's just helped to get me through in a way.
Yeah. At this point, Roxanne, what we're going to do, with your show notes, by the way, which were a pleasure to read, really nice. We're going to talk about this year, 2020, and some of the pivotal things that have happened, or the ups and downs, the changes of this year for you, and why you ended up being a mental health.
Yep.
Okay. We'll start off with, you had big plans this year that you ended up changing. What were they?
Yeah, so me and Marcus had big plans to essentially leave the country and go and live and work in Canada.
Wow.
We had that lined up, and Marcus had actually, it was 2 weeks before, so we're in March, we went into lockdown, he was due to fly in April, and obviously that all
Got
stopped,
kiboshed.
it ground to a halt, yeah.
What were you going to do in Canada?
Marcus was going to go and do recruitment. I didn't really have a plan, but I think because Marcus had...
Shine. What were you going to do? I was just going to shine, baby.
I was just going to go there. Bring my magic to Canada.
Yeah. You also said that your horse did some amazing feats. It jumped, double, you know the term.
Yeah, so I've had... Norma is a homebred horse. Basically we've had her since she was a baby. And so I've broke her, rode her, and she's been difficult. So actually, but the sense of achievement when you've worked with that horse all of its life, and then you take it to a competition and it actually achieves something. I think when I completed my double clear, I was fist pumping the air and whooping very loudly, and everyone thought, and my mum's running along the grass, like whoop whoop whoop. It was just an amazing moment. I think everyone thought we were crazy, but they don't realise that all the work and all the effort and the patience, because I'm not really a patient person, but with that horse, she gets all my patience. Maybe that's where it all goes into Norma.
I've seen it was a post I'd seen on social media, and there's a podium, and there's somebody in first place, and their head's down like this, and then there's somebody in third, it's kids, and there's somebody in third going, yes!
Yeah.
Like this, and you can see the sheer joy in the face for coming third, and it's all relative, isn't it? You might have come fifth, fourth, third.
I came fifth. Fifth
there
on
you
that
go.
day.
But whatever position you came, if it's an achievement for you, it's relative, isn't it?
Yeah. So
that was a good day.
Yeah, it was a very good day.
Yeah. Your horse became lame though this year.
Yeah, so that was in January. Then in about April time, competitions had obviously kind of stopped by March. I had big plans for Norma as well. Well, I was going to leave. I was due to leave anyway in April, but then when lockdown came, I had big plans for her. And then she went in for, she went lame. She had to go for some checks, scans. Luckily, thankfully, she was insured, and they found different things which meant that she needed an operation, which had just added stress, because as I've expressed in this whole thing, that Norma's my main motivation, and I think the thought of having her taken away, or she might not be there to get up for in the morning, just really, that was a struggle for me, and obviously gave me anxiety.
If you were going to go to Canada, what happens? Who looks after Norma?
So Mum was going to... So Mum's obviously, she's had horses. She's got her own horse.
Right.
Mum was going to take over and look after Norma.
Good old mum, eh?
Good old mum.
Oh, good young mum, sorry.
Yeah,
I don't
good
know.
young
Good young mum. You did a lot of cycling this year as well.
Yep.
Yeah, raising money for charity. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in the summer... Was it the summer? It might have been. I think it was sometime, because we'd obviously started working from home, gave me a bit more free time. So I did a full cycle for about, I think it was the whole of July, I can't remember exactly the month, but I did a full month where I didn't drive my car at all. I went to the horses, work, shops, boyfriends, like wherever, on my bike.
It wasn't an electric bike, was it?
No, it wasn't. And we did that was an initiative with Lancashire Mind that we raised a little bit of money. It was around breaking boundaries. So we had to walk the boundaries of Lancashire, or cycle or whatever. So that just motivated me to do that. And I do enjoy cycling. Because I'm so busy, I don't often get the time. So I think when COVID came and there was lockdown, it restricted a lot of other things, which allowed me to focus more and get out on my bike more.
Yeah. I like in your notes you say that, you've got to make the most of this time, if your movements are restricted and this kind of thing. And you transform your garden. And then you said, and then Zen arrived. Now, I straight away think of Zen Buddhism, and a lot of Zen Buddhists do gardening, you see,
Okay.
and they move really slowly. They look like they're moving in slow motion, and they go fully present by going into the realm of the five senses.
Yeah.
You didn't mean that, did you?
No.
What did you mean?
Yeah, so Zen is our new dog. He arrived after shortly. I think it was after we transformed the garden. We put we painted a big rainbow on the wall in the garden, which is you've seen probably some of my photos. And yeah, Zen arrived, so we decided to make the decision. The home felt a little bit empty without our dog Tyson, so we decided to get another puppy. Well, it was my mum's decision. She just, because I thought I'll leave it to her. If she's going to get another dog, she'll get another dog. And one day she just turned up with this dog in her arms, looking very pleased with herself. So yeah.
What breed is this dog?
So he's a Cane Corso cross American Bulldog. He's not quite as big as Tyson.
But he's not a rescue, this Zen,
No,
is he?
he's puppy.
Right,
Yeah.
right.
So we've had him from a puppy. He was a good puppy, and now he's turned into like the
Naughty
devil.
adult.
Yeah, very naughty adult. Yeah.
What are Gisborne Park parties? What are they?
Gisborne Park. So these were so obviously all the clubs, like a lot of my outlet in life is dancing, not anything professional, just freestyle.
Just dancing.
Just
yeah,
dancing.
Just letting it all hang out. Yeah, I'm all over that.
I love a good dance, and going to the clubs and being with my friends. Like I've got a lot of amazing friends, and we do different things, and dancing is one of my outlets. And obviously I can dance in my room, or I can dance as I'm going about my day, which I do, but it isn't the same. And when this concept of Gisborne parties, because the clubs were closed, the events were closed down, which obviously it's a massive thing where you could go and dance and express yourself.
Yeah.
Gisborne Park came along.
What is it? Where is it? What is it?
So it's in Gisborne, which is Clitheroe.
Right,
It was just a music venue where they put, like set out areas, and you could go with, I don't know, I think it was a max group of 6.
Right.
So I'd go there with my friends, obviously following the rules, following the restrictions.
Like a socially distanced rave kind of thing.
Yeah. Socially, and it was I quite like the concept because you had your own area. You weren't, sometimes when I go to events, because I'm quite expressive, there's a lot of hair whipping backwards and forwards. I've got a lot of limbs, they kind of go everywhere. So it was a bit more of had my own space. And
I imagine now, all this will end, you'll go to a nightclub, you'll go with a roll of duct tape, mark out your areas, everybody out now.
Oh, yeah, I can't. I just can't wait for when the club's open and, everyone goes.
Do you know, I talked to somebody about this yesterday. Lots of people are missing different things. Do you know what I'm missing? I'm missing dancing. I've danced a bit, but I want to go to a club. And more than anything, I'm missing a festival. I'm telling you, when that opportunity comes, I am there.
I know.
Festival. Oh,
my friends, they keep saying, I don't think they're all a bit hesitant. I think some of my friends are like, we're going to go with Roxy because it's going to be so fun. But some of my other friends are like, if we go with Roxy, it's going to be dangerous because she's going to be going crazy. So
yeah. Oh, I want to see you dance now.
Oh yeah, you'll see that, I'm sure, on some videos that.
Right, I'll have to source that. I love dancing. I love it. I think there's no, especially. You can learn to dance and do, you're trained in dance. And I did ballroom for a while and I've done other things, but I just like letting it all, like just throwing some shapes,
I tried to get Marcus into ballroom, but he's not.
No, it's good fun. I enjoyed it,
I know. I have to keep probing and saying, let's go on.
Yeah. Anything where you're using your body, it's expressive, it's healthy, isn't it? It's getting rid of tension. Swans, if they have a little bit of a fight, they do this and they get rid of it. They shake it off. Yeah, that's me. Yeah, that's how I dance. Yeah.
Yeah, and I always find that when I'm dancing, because my mind's very, very active, and I'm always here, I'm always there, doing this, doing that. When I'm dancing, my mind is quite clear. I'm just in the moment. I do like to live in the moment, but when I'm dancing, I'm in the moment. I'm just having a nice time. I'm usually surrounded by my friends. There's been times where I've gone out and danced on my own. Not a problem with that either, but it is usually in an environment where my friends are there.
Yeah.
I think
it's good for the soul. Yeah. Shake your booty. Roxy, you managed to do the 3 peaks this year.
Yes.
Yes, I've done the 3 peaks, and I might have done, ultra marathons. I run 100 miles, I run 50 miles many times and done things like this. But that doesn't mean, don't underestimate, the 3 Peaks is hard.
Yeah, it's hard. I think I might have misled you slightly in that comment that I
Oh.
put down.
Oh.
Because I've done the 3 Peaks, but they weren't consecutive.
Oh.
Still a massive achievement.
You did the 3 Peaks one at a time.
Yeah, one at a time. Coupled
I-
it with a camping adventure, obviously, because we were allowed to
Yeah.
do camping with the restrictions, whatever. So that was our little holiday with a mountain.
I got you.
Had a few beers in between the mountains.
It's still, I mean, it's wonderful. I did them, you do them all in 24 hours.
Yeah,
that was tough.
Yeah, we do. We've said we want to do that so maybe that's our 2021 challenge that we do them.
You need a driver, and you'll set off probably you'll start at the top and go to Ben Nevis, hit Scarfell Park in the middle. You'll have to do that through the night.
Yeah.
And then Snowdonia, as the sun's coming up, finishing. And
it'd be nice though, that. Yeah.
it's beautiful. But I foolishly, when I did it, ran up and down Ben Nevis because I thought I was being cocky and showing off. And of course, that was a bad idea.
Yeah, it's a bad idea.
Really bad idea. But there we go. Who was Joyce?
So Joyce was Marcus's grandma.
Right.
So she's passed away. It would be October, November. I think all the months just kind of mixed into one in 2020. But yeah, that was that was a difficult situation. She'd had a fall at home. Marcus's granddad. So Joyce was 92. Marcus's granddad is 93. She'd been put into a home, so we haven't been able to see her before she passed away. So it was a difficult situation, and going through, funeral arrangements and having that situation on top of the virus. Obviously, it's never easy losing somebody. I was quite close to Marcus's grandparents as well because he's been in my life for such a long time.
Yeah. How long have you been with Marcus now?
I don't even know.
Besides your little New Zealand break.
It's a long time. You're going on, I'd say maybe 9 years. I think it's got to the point now where it's been that long that you don't even count anymore.
You can't remember what was before.
No,
it's just like you've always been together. Yeah. I want to commend you on the fact that with mental health, the cycling you raise £600-700 for charity, but with mental health you raised about £2,000 for charity, is that right?
Yeah.
Is this for which charity again?
Lancashire Mind.
Lancashire Mind.
So it was collective as a business. I think I said at the beginning, it goes through, we got the idea from Lancashire Mind, we took it into the charity committee, and then we did a lot of things in the business. So we had some like wellbeing forums. We did it as like a mental health campaign. So we had forums, we had the, dressing up as an elf. We tried to create like a bit of an infectious elf community. We got people taking, setting the display picture with their elf hat on. We sold some elf hats in the business just so everybody could feel involved. And I think it was good because it created conversations. If you're wearing an elf hat, you start that conversation of, why are you wearing it? I'm wearing it for mental health. And everybody,
I'm a little bit mental.
Yeah, I just want to look like this. But I think it helped those conversations start, and everybody has their own different story. And the amount of people that I think that have reached out to me during it, or, I've started conversations at work and someone said, I've this huge life event happened, or my son's had cancer and I've had mental health problems and so has my son. And like the elf hat started the conversations like that.
I think I say that we can't learn anything if we don't talk about everything. Until you have all the facts, you can't make informed decisions. Somebody's always got to go first. You've got to say, I'm not coping very well, but I did this and I'm doing okay now, or whatever. We've got to talk about it. Not talking about problems isn't going to fix them. Talking about them might, so we need to do that. Yeah.
And I think that, for me, that was because I'm quite a positive person and I always put myself out there. I think if the fact that I'm talking about I've struggled throughout my life and might have struggled bits in 2020, putting myself out there and saying I struggled as well. Yeah. People have sent me messages and say, wow, it's nice to see someone so confident and, vibrant and positive, actually saying that we're all the same. We go through the same things.
Exactly. When somebody goes first, I always say somebody's got to be the pioneer. When you go first and somebody else thinks, oh, I'm not the only one, actually. Oh, I suffered too. And then there's this snowball effect and everybody starts to talk, but somebody's got to go first. It's actually more profound and poignant when somebody says it who's doing very well now. Because you can say, actually, I was really struggling.
Yeah.
And somebody says, oh, well, if they can do it, maybe I can do it. You inspire people, and that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
At the end of your notes, Roxanne, I'm just going to say there's something right at the end, and I love it. You then make a list of all the things you're grateful for, all the people you love, and all the things that are in your life at the minute that you don't take for granted. And you say that there's certain things that I'm grateful for. The last couple of words in that sentence, grateful for. You look around and see the magic and see all the things that are amazing in your life. And that's a healthy attitude. That's what we all need to do. So if somebody wants to find you on social media and follow you, Roxanne, where do they go?
So they can find me on LinkedIn, where you found me,
Yep.
or on Instagram at Roaming Rainbow Roxy. And that's probably the best platforms to get me on.
Yeah.
I will have started TikTok, but
Oh, I don't do TikTok.
you should do.
No. I think you couldn't write it. I'm just in my mind. I quite often laugh. I just start laughing and people don't know why, because I make jokes, but I don't say them out loud, because sometimes not everybody sees the funny side in things, but I can see it. Midnight McBride and his mental health, and this kind of the Midnight McBride and mental health show, and I think it's very funny.
I thought you were going to ask me to do a joke then.
No, well, do you know
I mean,
one?
I could do a joke.
Go
yeah.
for it.
So, why did the elf push her bed into the fire?
I do not know.
So she could sleep like a log.
Oh dear. Oh dear. No, cut that. I'm just teasing. Roxanne, I'm delighted you came on the show. Thank you very much. I think you're a very special lady. I think you're a beautiful person. And I think what you're doing is wonderful. Bringing sunshine and rainbows into people's lives. Keep doing it. Keep singing your song. Yeah?
Will do.
Wonderful. Okay, folks, I'm going to leave you with a quote from my book, From Pills to Peace, by me, Midnight McBride, as usual. And I'm bringing in the big guns this week, and I'm going to leave you with the quote off the back of the book. And it's one of my favourite quotes, and it's simply this. When you think from a beautiful garden, you will see flowers everywhere. When you get this right, when you start to have correct thought, when you start to experience inner peace and bliss, when you're feeling positive, when you experience joy, you will start to see the beauty in all things. Focus and get this right. Learn to meditate, surround yourself with people that love you, do things that bring you joy and bliss. Try your best to experience happiness every single day. It is your duty while you're here on this planet, in this spacesuit for this brief period, where you're a spiritual being having a human experience, to try and experience joy and bliss, because when you feel good inside, that is what you're going to give to everybody you meet. This has been Midnight McBride. You can catch me on the radio every Monday night on Salford City Radio 94.4 FM with the Mind, Body and Spirit show from 11 p.m. till midnight, or midnight till midnight. You can catch this show twice a week on YouTube on Mondays and Thursdays. Subscribe and you'll get updates and every show as it goes live. 3 days later, this show then goes live as an audio podcast on, I think, 14 platforms now, which includes Podbean, Spotify, iTunes, Amazon, Google, Pandora, etc. You can buy the book on Amazon in paperback and in Kindle format and loads of other places. You can also get the audiobook on Amazon, iTunes, ACX and Audible, to name but a few. You can find me on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn and Facebook, and you can go to the website midnightmcbride.com. I hope you've enjoyed the show. I'll see you next time. It's been my pleasure. Thank you, Roxanne, for coming on the show. Shalom.
What's an elf's favourite genre of music? Rap. Now this is a story all about how my elf life got flipped upside down, and I'd like to take a minute, just sit right there. I'll tell you how I raised awareness just because I care. In northwest England, born and raised, dressed as an Elvis, how I spent 24 days.
chilling out, maxing, relaxing, all cool. Dressed as an elf, even when filling with fuel. And a couple of elves, they were up to some good, promoting good well-being in the neighbourhood. And then one tall elf said, I've got a great idea. I'm going to dress like an elf every day and spread some festive cheer.